Rebuilt walls would not keep Winter's Edge safe alone. They needed weapons and armor, but had no smith. Leaf knew of a master crafter living in the rift, if Arlo was of an open mind. Arlo had heard the tales of battles that scarred the rift at his father's knee. He wondered how much of the stories could be true. The ancestral home to the pond scum, the rift had seen endless war between rats, bats, and frogs. Even the river refused to pass through it now. Its muddy bed was grave to beasts and boats alike. Arlo's foot slipped on something that was not another bone. Bottles were littering the muddy path now. Whoever left them could not go far. More bottles lay outside the forge, which was otherwise as quiet as every other dead thing that haunted this place. The pile of bottles was large, even for one who drinks like a merman, and it seemed to be breathing. Arlo was amazed the merman could swing his hammer, let alone see who he was hitting. A couple of thumps on the head soon brought him to his senses. Following him inside, Arlo realized this must be the smith. But his furnace was as cold and broken as the merman's spirit. The smith hunted bottles as he told Arlo of his woes. The frogs had attacked the village, kidnapping his wife and apprentice daughters. He would not light his forge until they were home. This was a problem Arlo swore he could solve. The smith took some strength from this. He introduced himself as Ron and flashed a grin, telling Arlo the frogs didn't take everything. hardly a full armory, Ron had what was needed. This two-handed skull crusher was a gift made by his daughters. He put it in Arlo's paws in hope it would help save them. Together, the pair ventured on, heading towards the frog camp situated in the ruined temples. At the top of the pile of corpses was one that was not Frog. The smith let out a desperate cry at the sight of his wife, lifeless atop the pile. He cried out again, but this time it was a call for blood. The old rat that stood before Arlo was barely able to raise his head, and his one cloudy eye felt as though it was looking through the warden. As Arlo reached out his paw, the hooded rat slammed his spear into the ground, imparting his gift onto the young warden. Arlo was glad to have met the old rat. Although he looked old and feeble, Arlo was sure that he was more than capable of looking after himself. Before Arlo could act, Ron was in the clutches of the enemy. The Night card. Although considered a common card, in the right paws, it has a great deal of power. Approaching the statue, Arlo could feel the familiar buzz of power coursing through his body once again. As he left the statue, Arlo could feel a new power coursing through his body. Something else came his way. Tumbling down the temple stair, Arlo was met with another horror. The head of the smith. It was Arlo now who took up the battle cry. tried not to think of how many friends, old and new, lay dead. He still had more to do. Rita and Ruby were free, but without their father, there was little for them here. Arlo offered them a new home at Winter's Edge and a forge to continue in their father's footsteps. The mermaids were grateful and said they would find their way to the keep once they had laid Ron to rest. A stranger was meditating in the stillness. Arlo gasped. It was a frog. Before he could lift his blade, the frog croaked that he was an outcast, named Short Tongue. He'd come to rebuild the ancestral home of Bogmire Forge, a place for frogs who sought peace. No sooner had they agreed a truce than the two warriors had to fight. Side by side, the pair fought well, and the attackers soon disappeared again, back into thin air. Persuaded of the frog's honesty, Arlo left Short Tongue to his quest for peace. In return, the frog swore Arlo would always find a warm welcome there.